Welcome to Fox 55's Fastlane.
Thanks so much for joining us on your Sunday morning home for the local auto racing scene. Throughout this show, we will take trips to State Park Speedway for the Flip Merwin Memorial races, as well as Golden Sands with the regular season opener, and even a special connection, a local connection, to Road America and the June Sprints. I'm Bryon Graff. Have no worries. Jana Wimmer will be along during this half hour with her racing recaps, as well as tech tips with Scott Wimmer. We also have Curt Keene with Keene Observations, and he gets a little more duty in this week with our driver interview as well, and we will lean on his experience for that. We get started first off with the Fox 55 Fastlane Flip Merwin Memorial races at State Park Speedway. The races honor the late Flip Merwin, who died in 2003 while competing in the Eagle River World Championship of Snowmobile Racing. Jana Wimmer has your highlights from the evening's events.
The start of 100 laps for the Fox 55 Fastlane Flip Merwin Memorial. Jay Vandergeest out to the early, just 9 laps in trouble in turn 4. Jason Weinkoff up the track. Mark Mackesy into the wall. That would end his night. Travis Volm and Bryon Barta involved as well. Back to green, and 1 lap later, contact between MG Gajewski and Tim Sauter. Sauter goes around and they stack up behind him. That's Natalie Decker's car on the side of Ryan Hinner's car. And we're back to racing once again. Jay Vandergeest to the lead once again. The fast qualifier Tim Sauter is on the move. Lap 45 makes the move past Jeremy Lepak. He's up to second, and then on lap 52 he catches Vandergeest, uses the inside lane, and takes the lead. Competition caution to honor the late Flip Merwin at lap 75. Then it's Sauter to the lead again, and Decker on the move. Remember, she had to go to the back after being involved in an early wreck. 2 laps to go, she pressures Vandergeest for second. Contact between the two, Vandergeest goes around. Then Vandergeest comes back at Decker. Both are black flagged and sent to the pits. Up front, though, it's the Sauter show. He wins his second Flip Merwin Memorial, Lepak second, and Chris Weinkoff third. Jeff Nowak took the checkers in the Budweiser Limited Late Model Division, holding off David Kabelka and Justin Mondyke. Carl Jeanette victorious in the Krieger Insurance Pure Stock feature. Jim Leitz picks up the win in the Snap-on Mini Mods. Rob Ruck, backflip and all, wins the Motor Service and Supply Mini Stock presented by Fox 55's Fastlane event, and Luke Fenhouse with the clean sweep in the Professional Drywall Bandolero division.
Thank you very much, Jana, for the update from State Park Speedway. A week ago Friday, Golden Sands Speedway celebrated its 20th anniversary and the second of 5 race dates at the Plover track this season. Let's start with the Super Late Model A feature. Brandon Selly in the 98 machine had the fastest car in qualifying. Reagan May driving the 33, and Travis Volm in the 711, also last week's Fastlane guest, set the pace early. MG Gajewski, one of the earlier heat race winners, and Brandon Selly pushing hard, but it's not enough to move ahead of May, who picks up the victory. Volm crosses the finish line second, followed by Gajewski, Selly, and Monty Gress. May immediately takes the early lead in the points chase.
Golden Sands is where I started my late model career. I haven't been back too much since then, once or twice with Tundra and running a couple local shows in the years in between, so it's nice to finally come back and get one where it all started. Now
the Super Stocks, Brian Weinfurter in the 24 clocking the fastest time heading into the feature. He works his way through the field, along with Wyatt Brooks in the 33. Brooks pushes to the front and edges Weinfurter for the win. Phil Maloff, Brad Scholze, and Marv Flick round out the top 5. Let's check out the Rock 94.7 Pure Stocks. Chad Weiss clocking the fast time there. But this race belongs to Carl Jeanette. Thanks to some crafty passing, he moves into the lead and takes the checkered flag. Brandon Knobloch edges Chad Weiss for second. The open 4 cylinders, Nikki Colthurst pushes her way to a hard-fought win in the lower feature. A caution with 2 laps to go in the upper feature sets up a matchup between Phil Maloff and Justin Mondyke, with Maloff holding on for the win. The Kuhn Mansell team won the Cruisers, and Golden Sands is set for its next show this Friday, the 26th. Now back to the super late model feature for just a moment here, where Reagan May won that race. Now she's been competing this year in the Tundra Super Late Model Series, where she won Rookie of the Year honors last season, and she's off to a great start again this year. She's one of 7 drivers in the Alan Kulwicki Development Program. You can see the Polish victory lap she took in honor of Kulwicki. That program reaches out to local short track drivers to keep the 1992 Cup champions' memory and legacy alive. And just like him, she is studying mechanical engineering.
He was one of those guys that had to work hard. He was a driver owner, so I understand those struggles as well. So seeing the dedication and drive that he had, I can relate to that. As well as I look up to him in my education, going to school for mechanical engineering and relating that to the race car. So he's a great role model, not only on the track and working in the garage on the car, but also academically as well.
May is a junior attending school at Michigan Tech. She was runner-up last year in the Tundra Series and currently 9th in this year's points. The next race for the Tundra Series is July 3rd at La Crosse Speedway. The ARCA Midwest Tour was supposed to be in action last Saturday, June 13th in Wisconsin Dells, but it was canceled due to the weather and will not be rescheduled. Next up for that tour is a stop at Rockford Speedway on Saturday. Of course, Curt Keene was planning to take in that show in Wisconsin Dells. It didn't happen, so I'm curious, did you take in a water show instead?
No, Bryon, actually didn't get to do any racing. Instead, last Sunday, I ended up going to the Slinger Speedway, check out some racing over there, and some of my friends, Mike Egan came to State Park this past week, and my buddy Brad Mueller went down there and cheered him on as a race fan. It was different.
And what stood out to you there? Let's touch on these different tracks.
Well, Slinger Speedway, Jeremy Lepak, our guest, he's won over there, and Slinger Speedway, just a great racetrack. It's the fastest quarter-mile racetrack in the country, turning speeds of 11 seconds. I mean, that's flying around there. Great facility. Slinger Nationals is coming up, a race that Scott Wimmer won, the only guy from Wausau, the second ever race winner for that. So I just wanted to get over there, and it's banked. It's banked like Bristol. Maybe later on we'll ask Jeremy about it.
So you had to stick to racing. It couldn't be water shows.
No water shows. I don't even know where the water show is.
Of course you wouldn't. All right, let's go back to Reagan May. We just heard from her. Competes in the Tundra Series, also part of the Alan Kulwicki Development Program. A lot of things going on for her. I was really impressed not only by her driving, but her drive off the track going into mechanical engineering. Tell us about this Kulwicki Developmental Program.
The Kulwicki Developmental Program kind of got put together this year. It's a national points deal, and what happens is whoever wins, if they have good points throughout the season, they add up to all the races they do, and if you win, you get some extra money from the Kulwicki, and I think a scholarship as well. And there's a lot of young racers that are doing it, and it's keeping his memory alive. And I know Reagan does it. Steve Apel down at Slinger, he's part of it, and John DeAngelis, another Slinger driver. So some of those guys that are part of that little extra money for their racing program.
And then the other part of that, the Tundra Series in Jefferson this weekend, and then La Crosse, Wisconsin Dells, State Park Speedway, Golden Sands, Ty Majeski leading the standings. Tell us about that series and the drivers that we see there.
The Tundra Series is, they got, I believe, 6 races this year, and State Park Speedway is a new track for them. It's a program that the racers, it doesn't cost them much money to get in. They buy into this program, but a great series, one of the up-and-coming series in late model racing around the country. And, Frank Cryer is one of the guys that put it together. But, it's the same guys you see out at State Park Speedway and throughout the Midwest.
State Park Speedway, the Flip Merwin races, and someone who got his first feature win, kind of a big night for him.
Yeah, we're talking about, Thursday night, Jimmer Leeds getting the Snap-on Mini Mod feature win. It was a lot of racing action, side-by-side racing, and the Leeds family's been a long-time supporter of that division. They've never moved up, and they enjoy it. It's a family sport. His dad was in Victory Lane with them, and it was just cool because he said that he met Flip Merwin when he was a young kid, and I think he lettered something for John Leeds, so Jimmer's father. So it was pretty cool.
Rob Ruck and Dave Meyer, that race went down to the wire.
That was a good race. Rob Ruck and Dave Meyer, they're buddies, and Dave was the fast car he had the race won, and I know it's probably still beating him up today, but he was on the outside, comes out of turn 4 to get the white flag, and the car shifts out of gear. He tries to get back and get the win, but Rob Ruck, gets out of the car and wins a feature and does a backflip. I mean, that was pretty exciting. The crowd erupted. Rob Ruck, he's actually a guy that would probably be at a water ski show because that's what he used to do.
Yeah, you can tell he had that athleticism there. ARCA Midwest Tour is heading to Rockford. A lot of history at that track.
Yeah, a lot of history at Rockford Speedway. You know, it's a track that doesn't have much super late model racing. They have national short tracks at the end of the year. So it's great to see some super late model racing. It's a show that I try to plan to attend, ARCA Midwest Tour, and you know, some of those guys might not want to repair their cars from last night because Rockford, the wall is just comes up quick, and you know, it's got some history of some wrecked equipment.
Dick Trickle always did well everywhere, but he did really well there. And then you kind of look at the list of names and you see Ross Kenseth on there, so you really see the spanning of generations in racing.
Yeah, a lot of generations. I mean, Dick Trickle, I remember he was telling a story a few years ago when he was up here at State Park Speedway, and he would say, you know, he knew where to turn. He says, you get your car turned to the right and it hooks up out of the banking, but you know, some other guys that know that racetrack probably could tell about Rockford Speedway. It's a tough place to get around, and I'm sure the ARCA Midwest Tour is going to have some fireworks.
As always, our thanks to Curt Keene for his Keene Observations, and it is time for our first break. When we come back, we'll take a look at a rain-shortened Sprint Cup race that's coming up after this. Welcome back to Fox 55's Fastlane. I'm Bryon Graff. Now we are going to drive outside the grain just a bit. Last weekend marked the 60th running of the SCCA Chicago Region's WeatherTech June Sprints at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. It's the longest continuous running road race event in the country. That road course has 14 turns covering more than 4 miles. We received some video from Daniel Shout and Dwayne Mrozek of Wausau. Shout driving his red 00 Mazda Miata in the Super Touring Light class. He finished 5th in his class, which had a starting field of 52 cars in 5 different classes. Mrozek driving his Gold 82 Spec Racer Ford, sponsored by Omega Valley Farmers and Heartland Cooperative. And in the Spec Racer Ford class, the starting field with 52 cars, 2 classes, Mrozek took 17th in his class, and we want to thank Dwayne and Daniel for sending us that video. Rain seemed to be the guiding theme throughout the Midwest a week ago, and it was no different in Michigan last Sunday for the Sprint Cup race. Jana Wimmer now with your recap.
The drop of the green flag in the Quicken Loans 400, and everyone at Michigan International Speedway was keeping an eye on the radar. Casey Kane and Kevin Harvick on the front row. It was Harvick who got out to the early lead. Then on lap 52, problems for Kyle Busch. He is hard into the outside wall. Tough day for him. He would finish 43rd. Late race restart, Kyle Larson and Dale Jr. out front, both gambling on fuel and tires with rain approaching. Larson, though, forced to pit, and when the rain started, the race went under caution, and then the 4th red flag. It was Kurt Busch in the lead. He gets the win in a rain-shortened event at Michigan after being forced into a backup car after a wreck in practice.
All the crew members that Tony Gibson leads rolled up their sleeves, jumped right on in it, and we made it a race-winning backup car.
Your top 10 finishers look like this. Kurt Busch, the winner, followed by Dale Earnhardt Jr., Martin Truex Jr., Matt Kenseth, 4th place, Joey Logano rounding out the top 5. After that, Brad Keselowski, Jamie McMurray, Paul Menard, Trevor Bayne, and Clint Boyer. So 2 Wisconsin natives in the top 10 there. The Cup drivers get this Father's Day off before making the trek to Sonoma Raceway next Sunday for the Toyota Save Mart 350. By the way, Lee and Richard Petty have the most combined Cup wins for a father-son duo with an amazing 254. Richard and his son Kyle Petty share 208 victories. Time for another Fox 55 Fastlane break. When we return, we will be joined by the current super late model points leader at State Park Speedway. Welcome back to Fox 55's Fastlane. I'm Bryon Graff. We're keeping Curt Keene around for the driver interview and the introduction for our guest, a longtime racer from this area, currently the leader in the super late model point standings at State Park Speedway. Our guest this week is Jeremy Lepak, and thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's a blast being here.
You bet. This has been a lot of fun. I know we really like this segment. It's really fun to get to know some of the drivers away from the track. a little bit. And coming off that Thursday night at State Park Speedway, Sauter, we talked about it with his strong car, but you worked your way up there and finished runner-up. Take us through that race, and it really was a long one.
It was a long one. I didn't think it was ever going to end there for a while, so it was definitely exciting. You know, a lot of action early. Got our front end banged up, I think, lap 8, so really hurt the front end of our car. Really struggled the rest of the race. Really managed to save the tires and stay up there close to the top 3, top 4 most of the race. I think we ran 2nd or 3rd most of the race, and Tim come on strong at the end, which was expected. You know, so we were able to, you know, the way circumstances ended up there, we come out with a 2nd place finish, probably had about a 4th or 5th place car, so we'll take it, and finally luck went our way. So it was good. I was real proud of the team. They all worked hard all night long, and you know, a real special race for us, so it was good to run good.
With that 2nd place finish, you extend your points lead to 33, so overall, big picture, it was a good night for you.
Oh, yeah, real big. You know, MG was right there qualifying in the heat race, really didn't gain much there. He actually gained a couple of points on us, so I think he had some problems in the feature, and that really helped us a bunch, give us some breathing room there, so that'll be good going into the next race.
Jeremy, I got to ask a question, you know, with the Flip Merwin Memorial 100-lap feature, with all the cautions, how does a driver, how do you do it to keep your mind focused? Hey, maybe we could stop wrecking cars. What goes through your mind when you're seeing these cars getting off on the hook?
Well, I actually didn't mind the red flag because I was able to take a little nap there. So my spotter usually wakes me up when it's time to go. So it's nice to be able to sit back and be able to do that every now and then. But no, it's just one of those races. Everybody's being real aggressive. You know, I think a lot of guys wanted to win it. And, you know, it's a special race to all of us. So I think just that was a lot of it. And, you know, guys just wanted to get to the front. And knowing how fast Tim's car is, you know, that doesn't help anybody holding back either. They know they got to get to the front and try to get some distance on him, I think.
And we were talking about, you know, earlier about Tim Sauter, you know, how come he is so good at State Park Speedway? I mean, this guy, years ago, you were racing at Golden Sands with the points championship. Does he just have it figured out, or maybe experience?
I don't think it's just Wassa. Any place Tim goes, he's fast. I mean, he's somebody I grew up watching, raced against my dad back in the day, and you know, I mean, you know, like you know, there's a conversation me and my dad had just a couple of years ago, and Tim wasn't as dominant as he had been, and you know, and I told my dad, I said, you know, it's coming, in a year he's going to find it, and when he finds it, he's going to be tough, and that's just what happened, and I'll tell you, we got our work cut out for us. You know, I won opening night, and we went to the shop, and my guy showed up, and I had the whole front suspension tore out of the car, and they're like, "We won. What are you doing?" The 99 car is all I said.
Yeah.
We won the second week. Come back to the shop, I had the whole front end tore out, and they're like, "What are we doing? We gotta catch the 99, and we got some room there to go yet." So we've got our work cut out for us yet.
You talked about your dad, and we're on this Father's Day weekend. Racing really runs in your blood, doesn't it?
Oh, it's our whole family. It's probably easier for me to tell you an uncle that doesn't race or a cousin that doesn't race because I can't find one. So, you know, my father, on both sides of my family, everybody races. My uncles race. I mean, we race snowmobiles, we race cars. Pretty much anything we can get our hands on, we race. So it's been like that my whole life. So it's definitely really proud to be a part of that history.
And it's really taken you around. I mean, people know you around this area, north central Wisconsin, but you've run at Slinger, you've run at the Milwaukee Mile. Just the experiences, when you look back on that and what you've learned from it, what have you really taken away from driving at those levels?
Oh, it's just, you know, being able to compete with the different drivers at the different levels, I think is, you know, really huge to me. Something I'm really proud of, the championship at Slinger in 11, the Rockford championships, to go under the grandstands and see your name lettered on the old school board that's under the grandstands, I think is probably the ultimate for me. The names that are on that list, giving Jerry Gunnerman an All-Star Racing his only championship, giving him the 2 Rockford championships, you know, I can't even put it into words what it means to me and my career, and you know where I've come from to get those wins, and to be as competitive as I am with, you know, the different tracks I get to go to. Means a lot to me. You
know, and you've done a lot of racing. I mean, like you said, to see your name, I mean, you can't put into words, you know, with the names like Dick Trickle and in the races that, you know, you won. I mean, those things, I mean, this is big time stuff. I mean, it's not just, you know, a normal racetrack. I mean, your name is on there for good. I mean, someday maybe you might even get the handprints at Rockford. I mean, that's impressive. I mean, people don't ever think about it, but for you to do that, that's got to be pretty cool.
It is, and I think anybody that's gone there and races there understands how hard it is to get around that place. It is unbelievable. I would say it's probably one of the hardest tracks I've ever had to race at, and not just get the one win, but to win it back-to-back. Kind of crazy the first race, not a tire mark on a car. The second race, nothing like that. So it really shows what kind of racing you can get there. And but no, it's definitely something that they can never take away, and something that I still cherish with that team yet. Even though Jerry's retired and stuff, we all still get along and communicate quite often. So it's definitely something I'm really proud of.
Have you ever rolled out onto the track or walked through the pits and looked around and saw someone you were competing against and thought, well, this is something?
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten to race against a lot of the Cup guys at the Slinger Nationals. Matt being a hero of mine for a long time. I followed him way before he ever made it big through the super late ranks, and getting to go wheel to wheel with him. I don't remember exact year, but finished second to him there, and we really battled it out for probably half of the second segment, back and forth. I led, he led. It really made me feel good that I could compete with somebody at that level. So real proud of that. And Kyle Busch, all of them guys, it was cool to get to interact with them too, not just get to race with them. So it's really neat on somebody on a local level that gets to do that.
And you even raced touring series with a lot of big name guys before they were even known about. I believe you ran a touring series around the country. But that was probably, 10 years ago? It just seems like it was yesterday.
Yeah, 01, I believe, was the year that we ran the touring series. Actually ran for rookie against Clint Boyer. Me and him were actually really good friends, hung out a lot during that year. I just got to see him a couple of years ago at Phoenix down in the garage, and he's doing really awesome, and it was cool to get back and see him again and talk to him. So, it was really cool, that traveling deal. It was really neat to get to go to the different tracks. A lot of times we were there with the trucks, and so that was pretty cool to experience that.
We're going to move into our checkered finish segment. So this is something that we've been doing the last couple of weeks, trying to get to know the drivers just a little bit more than just your standard questions here. So Curt and I are going to go back and forth. First question is, what was your first ever car?
First ever car, 1981 Ford F-150 with a straight six, 3 on the tree. I paid $500 cash to my grandpa, and he made me pay all $500 cash. It wiped out my savings account.
And how long did you run that car for?
Believe it or not, my dad rebuilt the motor for me like a few years after I had bought it. So that truck went a long time. So actually, it eventually broke the shifter on the column. I won't say what we were doing to do that, but that was my first vehicle.
What would your dream car be, Jeremy? Besides a race car.
Dream car, my dad was big into GTOs. My dad and my uncle were big into GTOs. So I think if I could get my hands on like a 69 GTO, I think that would be something I would love to have in my garage someday.
What's the first job you ever had?
First job, I was working for Town and Country Builders, Jim Cito. My dad worked for him and got me a job. I actually started probably 11 or 12 years old. I'd go there after school, and that was actually the first job I got out of high school.
Who's your favorite NASCAR driver?
Right now, definitely Matt Kenseth. Like I said, followed him all the way up through the super late ranks, and how can you not pull from a guy from Wisconsin? And
if you could race at any track at any level, which would it be?
That's a tough one. I wouldn't mind running at all of them if somebody let me.
But you gotta pick one.
Yeah, I would say probably old school Bristol. I don't know if I like the new school Bristol. I would say old school Bristol, and this would probably throw people for a loop, but I'd like to do it in a high wing sprint car. So I think that'd be pretty wild. Got to watch one make some test laps at Winchester a few years back when I was there racing, and pretty wild. So I think it'd be pretty cool. It'd be a neat rush to do. So.
And when you're not racing, what's your favorite thing to do away from the racetrack?
Me and my wife love to go camping, and we love to hunt. My wife's a pretty good shot with rifles, so I'm not sure if that's good or bad. But so we enjoy hunting and going camping for sure. Spending time with family.
And that's our checkered finish. Those are our 6 questions. And finally, who are your sponsors?
Would like to thank Rick at R&J Auto. Rick paints my car. He's been doing it for like 10 years now, I think. So. Would like to thank Light Guard, new sponsor on board. They're out of Mosney, and Winter Plubba Construction. My father-in-law, got to thank father-in-law, keep him happy. So got to do that. And my car owners, Larry and Judy Lepak, would never have the opportunity to drive the cars I do without them. So it's pretty cool.
And we have some parting gifts for you as well. Curt has a polo shirt for you, a Fastlane shirt.
There you go.
And I have a gift card to Country Fresh Meats.
Cool.
Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thanks for
Jeremy
having me.
Lepak.
Appreciate it.
We'll be back with our
Thank
tech
you.
tips right after these messages. Just like that, we're cruising right along on Fox 55's Fastlane, and now let's broaden our horizons and learn a little bit more about what makes these cars tick. Jana Wimmer and former Sprint Cup driver Scott Wimmer have your tech tips.
Fox 55's Fastlane Tech Tips are brought to you by Car Parts.
Welcome to Tech Tips. I'm joined by former NASCAR Sprint Cup driver Scott Wimmer, and this week's topic is sway bars. Now, the sway bars go in the car through a tube that's placed right in front of the motor. I'm not actually going to do it, but they're a big important piece to the front end of the car and how it works. Can you explain to us a little bit what these things are and what they do?
Well, they're a very important part of tuning the car. Front sway bar on a street car, when you turn to the right, it lifts the left. If you turn left, it lifts the right. With a race car, when you're turning off into the corner, the right front starts going down. You want your left front to pick up and help you turn around the corner. Sway bar helps you do that.
So I right here have an 1 3/4 sway bar. I don't know what size you have over there, but there's different sizes, different rates. Explain to me the difference and when you would use each one.
Really, it's a different diameter of it. I have an 1 3/4 bar here. That's really how big around it is. Yours is an 1 3/8. So what happens, the bigger bar is harder to twist. A lighter bar is easier to twist. So if you want your car to, say, settle down and turn real quick, you would probably use a little softer bar. If you want it to settle down and not turn as quick, you'd use a little bit stiffer bar, a little bit bigger diameter.
That's a closer look at sway bars, and that's it for this week's Tech Tips.
That's going to do it for this edition of Fox 55's Fastlane. As always, our thanks to Scott Wimmer and Curt Keene, as well as our driver guest, Jeremy Lepak, and a big shout out to our sponsors, Brickners of Wausau, Flipside Graphics, and Country Fresh Meats and Car Parts. From all of us here at Fox 55, have a great week, and we will see you at the track.